Hey there everyone, Erin here. Welcome back to the Impatient DIYer. Today I am bringing you a really super quick tutorial on how I make my book page flowers. Now I have actually made hundreds of these flowers. I've actually made two different kinds, but I'm only going to be sharing one of them today. The reason I have made so many of these flowers is I'm actually using them as part of my wedding florals. So I did another video a few weeks back on how to dye solo wood flowers. So I am using both solo wood flowers and I am using book page flowers. So everything I'm doing is recyclable for my wedding, well, except for the greenery, but I'm going to reuse that too, so it's okay. But yeah, I did a tutorial a little bit ago on how I use these book page flowers to do a Valentine's Day topiary, and someone had asked me for a tutorial on how to do these, so I wanted to share that with you guys. If you have any questions or if you want me to break anything down further, please don't hesitate to leave me a comment, and I am definitely going to be using these in future tutorials, so I hope you guys enjoy. So what you guys are going to need to make these flowers are book pages or whatever paper you want to use. I use a paper cutter from Fiskars to cut my paper, also a hot glue gun, and some scissors. So I would highly recommend using like a lighter, thinner page for these book flowers. That's kind of worked out a little bit better for me. Now when going through your pages, you want to make sure that all of your pages have a full page of words, because it'll just kind of look a little funky if you've got like the chapter title or the end of a chapter. So you're going to take 3 pieces of book page paper, and how I start this is I first cut off one of the margins. Just get rid of your first margin, and that's how you'll start measuring. Then I take the second margin and line it up against the line and see which one of my marking lines on my Fiskars cutter is the one that's like closest to that, so that it's all words, no margin. I have done book page flowers with some of the margins showing, and it's actually not bad looking. You're not really going to notice it that much. So then I'm going to line this up with the same marker, once I remember what I'm doing, with the same marker that I did to cut off the second margin, so that I have a square. Now, I've done this where they're not like perfectly square, it's not an exact science, but you want 3 squares. Then you're going to take it and fold it into a triangle. And you're going to do this 3 times, each time with the folded side being the one that you're folding, if that makes sense. I think watching it makes a little bit more sense than me telling you. So you could just see I'm folding that 3 times. And you're going to do that for all 3 pieces of book page paper. And here I was just folding it a little bit more. I don't know why. So yeah, you're just going to put 2 corners together and then make that a pretty firm crease. Then you're going to take that and fold it into another triangle, and then fold it into a 3rd triangle. Now I wanted to keep this video kind of at speed. I think I really only sped it up maybe like 0.5%. So you guys are going to get to see really how long it actually takes to make one of these flowers. I wanted to keep this slowed down so that you guys could see everything that I'm doing. Normally I speed things up like crazy because no one needs to see someone paint something with white chalk paint 50 times. So once you're done folding all 3 of those, what you're going to do is you're going to cut the tip off just like that. And that's going to be like the inside of your flower point. I know it's a little hard to tell which one I'm cutting, but you want to make sure it's the one that if you were to open it up, it would be in the center. And then you're going to take that, and with a folded part on the outside, you're going to cut it into like a half a heart. And then that'll open up into your flower. It's really hard to explain. It's much easier to watch. I'm going to do it again here. The fold's on my right side, and you're just going to cut half a heart or an arch, however you kind of want to see that And then when you open it up, it looks like a flower already. Once again, fold on my right. I do a pretty steep curve on there, and I found that that works a lot better than doing kind of a shallow arch when you're cutting that. I think it does end up looking a lot better in the end, and it actually makes them a little bit easier to put together. So once you've done that to all 3 of your book pages, we're going to get into the next construction part. So you're going to cut along the folds in 3 different places on each flower, or 3 different ways on each page. The first one, you're just going to cut out 1 fold. The second one, you're going to cut out 2 folds, or 2 arches. Let's go with 2 arches. I think that makes a little bit more sense. And I like to put mine in order because it just helps me. And the third one, you're going to cut out 3 arches. Yeah, arches makes a lot more sense when I'm talking about this. Okay, so now you're going to have 6 pieces total. Now we're going to bring out the glue gun. So what I do before I glue all these together is I kind of fold each piece in so that it kind of makes that 3D shape already. It makes it just a little bit easier, cleaner. And then you're going to put a strip of hot glue down one side that you cut off, and then overlap the other side just the littlest bit. And I will say just the littlest bit because it's going to make it easier to roll the edges of your petals as opposed to if you overlapped them a lot. It just kind of takes away half of your arch. It makes a weird mergy petal thing. So you can see I just put a thin strip there, and then I'm just overlapping them the littlest bit. And for some reason my glue gun wasn't getting hot, so I was able to touch my hot glue on that. But you're just going to keep doing this for the first 3 bigger parts of your flower, and then I kind of switch it up for the last 3. But yeah, fold everything in a little bit so it already starts to make that cone, and then 1 strip of hot glue, and then overlap a little bit. For the 4th one, what I do is I actually cut a little bit of that inside part off, and I found that this just makes it easier, and the next thing I do also makes it easier. So I took a really, really thin paintbrush and kind of rolled the edges in to start giving it that cone shape. Because this is so small, it just makes it so much easier to get the 2 edges to overlap, as you can see right there. And I put way too much hot glue on, but it actually doesn't really matter. You don't end up seeing it. But yeah, doing that little bit of roll, and anything thin, like you're going to see here in a minute that I actually switched out my paintbrush for a skewer that I got from the Dollar Tree. Before, I was using some floral picks that I had. Just anything super, super thin is what you're going to need. But you can see here that I cut off the bottom tip of this one as well. It really just makes it a lot easier to just kind of get these to roll and get these to fit where you want them in the flower. Little things that I've learned making hundreds of these. So then you're going to kind of just roll this up around itself and try and hold it. And then just another thin line of hot glue and press that on. And here you'll kind of see this one's even more of a cone than all of the others. I like a little bit of a swirl in the center. So I try and roll it a little bit tighter than you would normally think to. So now we're going to work on the petals again. And using the round end of the skewer, because apparently the other end is square, which is cool. Didn't know that. I take my fingers and just kind of roll the paper back and forth over the skewer, and it creates this really cool just round edge. And here you can see I actually scrunched that piece a little bit, and you can just take your fingers and smooth it out and start rolling again. Now I think going back and forth, like you see, I'm just kind of rolling back and forth, works a little bit better than just rolling it once and calling it a day. I feel like it actually gives it a little bit more of a defined curl than just rolling it once and moving on to the next petal. And I do this for the 4 biggest pieces of the flower, I think. Yeah, all the way down to the 3 petal flower. I do this on each petal, roll it a couple of times, and you can go back and roll them again once the flower is together. It's paper, it's really easy to manipulate, so it's great like that. But I like doing it at this part because if you do it before, it makes it hard to hot glue and different things like that. So this is the perfect part to do all of that. So the 3 petal flower is a little bit trickier because it just like, it doesn't want to be a triangle with rolled petals on it. It just doesn't want to do that. So I just do those 4, and then the last 2, you don't have to roll at all. So now we're going to put it all together. So you'll see here, I just put hot glue around the outside of the hole in the center. You don't want to put it directly on the hole because it's going to be connecting to another hole. So if you put it around that hole, you can kind of make some connections with the flower piece under it. And it is easier to kind of move around. If you don't like where it's sitting, you just press it to the other side and things like that. So I just found that this works the best for me. And if you find you don't like the way that the flower is sitting before you start hot gluing, just cut it. You'll see right here, I always cut my 3 petals because I like them to be a little bit more sunk in to the flower. But you could do this for any of the layers. If you just don't like, if one layer is raised more than you want it to look like, feel free to cut it. I have done that on plenty of different flowers. So the 3 petal one and the 2 petal one, I always do cut because I just like how it's like a nice even arch. And you can see here, like, look how high above that one is. Like, it's a little hard to tell, but I normally cut this one down pretty significantly. I just think it looks so much better. Just, it's the inside of the flower. It should be in the flower. So that's what I do for just kind of making them look the way that I want. You know, for this last one, I cut a pretty large portion off. You'll see there how much I'm actually cutting off. And then all I do is I roll this around my skewer. You'll see right here. I take it right off, all rolled up like that. I put hot glue on the outside of the bottom part of that roll, and I just push it straight into the flower. And I really, really, really like the way that this looks because it kind of unfurls, but the glue doesn't let it like unfurl all the way in there. So it just makes this really, really pretty like swirl in the center there. I love how that looks. I like discovered this halfway through making my flowers, and it just was a game changer for me. So this is what the flower ends up looking like. It's really cool. You can paint the petals. I would do that before you put anything together. You can leave it as is. You can use different papers. There are a ton of different things you could do with this. Music sheets. So I hope you guys have a blast making these. That is that for that quick tutorial. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions at all, feel free to drop a comment below, and I hope you guys stick around for more. Bye for now.